Hello. Say hi. He's teething, so I'm just gonna let him rock. My pregnancy. Oh, excuse me. You just farted? That's pretty gross. You tired? It's time for your nap. So I'm finally back with another video, and this time I have my baby boy with me. Oh my gosh, look at this face. Why are you looking like that, baby? Why are you looking like that? So this is our son, Lennox Saint. And as you read by the title, I kind of wanted to just talk about my labor and delivery story, and kind of how I got to where I ended up, and like my whole idea and thought behind it. But before that, I wanted you guys to meet Lennox. Hey baby, say hi. Why are you giving a stank face? Sorry. He's normally a lot more friendly than that. I want to talk about, like, first things first, what I wanted out of labor and delivery. I had it in my mind that I was going to have my son with no interventions. Interventions means no drugs, no epidurals, no Pitocin to kind of like start your labor, nothing to induce me, you know, anything like that. I just wanted it to be all natural. However it was going to happen was how it was going to happen, and I was just going to let it be. So that honestly is what I prayed for all the way through my pregnancy. Then I also read this book that my friend Amber gave me, and it's from forgetting the title of it, Mom Brain, but it was such a great book, and it was based all around how pregnancy and you know, childbirth specifically. Supernatural childbirth, that's what it was called. It was just talking about how, you know, childbirth, while it is going to be like a little bit painful, it doesn't have to be what it's portrayed as in the media and things like that. I really did take that book to heart, and you know, my friend who gave it to me actually had an all-natural home birth, and then another one of my friends was pregnant at the time, and she ended up having a natural childbirth as well. So like the more people I had around me just supporting that idea, it was like really helpful. So that was what I wanted. That is what I prayed for. That is what I set my mind to. There was no other option. That's what the power of prayer will do for you. What I will say is what got me to this point of making sure that I wanted to have an all-natural childbirth was a documentary called The Business of Being Born. You should really watch that. It talks about hospitals and what they do to try to get as much coin out of you as they can when you have this baby. So this story is going to be like chopped and screwed. I already know because I'm all over the place. Let's talk about what led up to my labor and delivery. I was 40 weeks. I went to the doctor for my regular checkup. She said I was 1.5 centimeters dilated and 50% effaced, which pretty much means nothing. It could have been like 2 more weeks before I had the baby. And then she said, you know, if I came back to my next appointment, which was the following week, then we would have to start talking about induction. So naturally, I already, you know, as soon as I left there, I started praying against that because I didn't want it. And then what we did is that next day, or later that day after we left the appointment, we decided to walk. Now that was about a 4-mile walk. We walked all the way down to Target to get some baby stuff. We decided to walk 4 miles. And then after we went to Target, we went to Whole Foods and did some grocery shopping because I said, you know what, we need to have some frozen stuff in the fridge just in case the baby comes and, you know, we don't have time to cook. Yeah, so we did that, and then we took a cab back home because I was hurting. I was so exhausted. My back hurt because I had sciatica issues all through my pregnancy, and I even had them actually before I got pregnant, but they were just magnified once I was like really far along. And we took a cab home, like I said, and I just came home, I showered, I got on the couch and I took a nap. So that was at about 9 o'clock. I went and took a nap, and then at midnight I woke up and I had to pee, naturally, because pregnant, right? So I went to pee and I realized that there was blood in the toilet, and it was like bright red blood. Now, I have heard that after you get an exam, you can bleed a little bit from your cervix, but there was a lot of blood coming out. So I was very concerned, and I called the hospital. It was after hours, of course, so I had to wait for my doctor to call me back. She didn't call me. Actually, the doctor on call called me, and she said, you know, just come in, we want to take a look at you. So I live about 10 minutes with no traffic because it was really late, maybe 10 minutes from the hospital. So I just like freshened up, got myself dressed, grabbed our hospital bag, and left. And I just had on, you know, like sweats and stuff, you know, just chilling. So I walked into the hospital, and And everybody is like, oh, do you need a wheelchair? Do you need a wheelchair? I was like, no, it's not time. You know, like I'm chilling. Like, nah, baby's not here yet. So I get in there and they ask me, okay, when's the last time that your child has moved in your stomach? And I was like, well, I've been asleep for the last 3 hours, so I'm not sure. I said, I'll drink some water and I'll let you know. They took that, I'm not sure, to equal my baby hasn't moved in 3 hours, which is not the case. Like this kid in my stomach, he never, ever, ever sat still for long unless he was asleep. So for a little while there, he wasn't moving or anything like that. So I went and I drank some water. That's the fastest way to get your baby to move, by the way, if you ever want to feel them kick. I drank some water and sure enough, like 5 minutes later, he starts kicking. So I'm like, okay, he's kicking. So they're like, well, we've admitted you and we want to watch his movement. So in that time frame, I was in the waiting room, and then I left from the waiting room and they admitted me and put me into a room in triage. So I was in triage and they're like, okay, we want to see the baby move. We want to see what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So they do all these checks on me, make sure there's no amniotic fluid, pretty much saying, okay, your water hasn't broken. You know, everything's still intact down there for the most part. And then they took a sonogram to see if the baby was moving. And then by then, I think he had fallen back asleep because he only woke up, I guess, because I drank that water. So he had fallen back asleep, and crazy thing is he was not moving like very much. And then his heart rate on the monitor was kind of like not as strong, I guess, as they wanted it to be. But I mean, I guess he was sleeping, so he wasn't really active. Like they were looking for like that up and down and up and down. It was more like this because he was just kind of at rest. So then I drank some more water. They came in. By then, they were seeing the action that they needed to see. It was up and down, up and down. But the doctor came in and she said pretty much she didn't care. She was inducing me and I was going to have this baby today. And I fought tooth and nail against every single thing that she kept saying to me. This is the devil, okay, trying me. So she was like, no, we're going to induce you. The baby wasn't moving and I wasn't seeing the heart rate that I wanted to see, and you were bleeding. So your 40 weeks, we're just going to induce you. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be induced. Like, I absolutely don't. And she was like, well, the only option you have is to check yourself out against doctor's orders and come back later. So by this point, I'm crying, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, you know, I'm talking to my husband. I'm like, I'm not sure what to do. But by this point, it's like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And I'm kind of tired. So what I did to kind of fight the feeling that I was feeling was I just said a prayer. Literally, I opened my heart like as much as I possibly could to God. Like I literally gave him everything that I was feeling. And I just said, oh God. Wow, I didn't think I was going to cry. Okay, and so in my prayer, I was just like, God, you know what my desires are, but if it's not what's meant to be, then that's fine. But, you know, I really do not want to get induced. I don't want to start that process. I'm very scared of drugs. I really, like, if I have a headache, I won't even take a Tylenol. Like, so, you know, I was just praying to God with my whole heart, and I was just like, please, 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 please do not let them induce me. Whatever you have to work out so that I can get out of here, please let that happen. So that was at about 4 a.m. by that point. And what's crazy is, I didn't even mention this, my husband, that night when I went to sleep on the couch, he took a Benadryl because he had been having like issues with his sinuses and his allergies. So he took a Benadryl that night before, even though every single night he's been wanting to take it. And I told him, no, 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 because the baby could come. Sure enough, the one night he takes it is the night that all of this happens, right? Fast forward, I said my prayer to God. That was at about 4 a.m. And about 6 a.m. I start having very, very early labor contractions. Like I went from having absolutely no action to early contractions. And I mean, it wasn't really painful, but I could just see it on the monitor. So that's how I knew that I was having contractions. But I was still early labor and they were still talking about inducing me. So, you know, I just took a nap. I was like, you know what, let me just go to sleep because this could be it and I'm going to need my energy. So I took a nap, and at about, I want to say I went to sleep at around like 5 a.m. I don't know, the hours honestly are blurring. I went to sleep at about 5. I woke up about 7:30, and I called my doula. And a doula is like a support person through labor, if you guys don't know what a doula is. But so I called my doula and I told her everything that was going on, and she was like, okay. She said, do you want to have this baby today? I said, yes. I said, I do not want to get induced. I need to have this baby today. And she was like, okay, I'll be there in a minute. So about 9 o'clock she gets to me, and by then I had seen the doctor one more time. There was a new doctor on call, and she was actually very kind, and I explained everything that was going on to her, but she said, you know, this stuff is already in your notes. I can't let you go. The only way you'll go is if you want to. So I had to stay in the hospital because my husband just thought it would be best not to go against the doctor's orders. So I stayed in the hospital. So what's funny is when I talked to the second doctor, she was essentially like, you know, there's a lot of women in front of you who want epidurals and who want to get Pitocin to get their labor started. She said, you know, you're going natural. It's going to take you a very long time. This is your first child. It's going to be a very long labor and delivery. That's what she told me. She said, if you want to get a delivery room right now, you have to either take the Pitocin or say you want an epidural. And I was like, well, I don't want either, so I'll stay here. And I labored the majority of my labor in a small little triage room. My doula got there at about 9, and then she said it again to me. She said, do you want to have this baby today? I was like, yes. She looked me dead in the eyes and she was like, let's go. And I was like, okay. And at that point, we had been in the hospital since about 12:30 in the morning. And my husband and I were both starving. He didn't have his stuff. He only bought my bag, so he had to come back home. Luckily, it was close, but it was rush hour. So it took him about an hour to get home and back and get everything and come back. So by the time he came back at about 10:30, I was in full-blown labor. I was in active labor by that point. Okay, so my doula was a monster with getting my mind where it needed to be, to get my body ready to deliver this child. And you know, it was just awesome. My water still hadn't broken by that point, and I didn't have my bloody show or anything like that. So but I was in labor. Like, you could see it, I could feel it. Yeah, so I pretty much used a medicine ball to get me through my entire labor for the most part. She had these little wedge things that she made me get on every now and then that actually I think also helped progress my labor, but they hurt like a mother. So I tried to do as much as I possibly could on the ball. So let's see, my active labor started at about 9:30, 10:30-ish, and I had Lennox at 4:25 p.m. that same day. Now, what's crazy is that's a very short labor for a first-time mom. It's very short. It's definitely not the norm by far. And it's funny because the doctor that saw me and told me that I couldn't get a room because it would take too long, she came into my room and I was about 8 centimeters dilated when she left. She went to go get coffee, walked back in with the coffee in her hand, her scrubs like over her shoulder, and I was ready to push. Okay, so that was like 2 minutes apart. So my husband came back around 10:30 in the morning, and I was already, like I said, kind of into the throes of labor, but he bought some food. And even though I knew, like, you can eat when you're going natural, but that could still cause a chain of events that is not so pleasant, but it's okay. I ended up eating. I had a Spanish omelet. What was I thinking? And I ate that thing in like 5 seconds. And I needed to eat it because I was just so hungry and I was so depleted already, because from what, 8 o'clock that last night, that was the last time I ate. So, you know, I ate my eggs, and then shortly after I threw it up into my husband's hands. That might be a little graphic, but it's what I remember. So, yeah, I had the bodily functions going on, and it's cool. To me, that's when my doula was like, you know what? The fact that this is happening means that, you know, labor is really going on and this is really about to go down. So I was like, okay, perfect. That's fine with me. Cool. Keep it going. So contractions came and went, got stronger, were no joke at one point. So, my doula actually did a really good job of helping me kind of like stay focused and stay calm and remembering to breathe, and she kept bringing me water to drink my water. You know, my husband was there. He was rubbing my back. He was helping me through my contractions. It was just beautiful, honestly. I went from being 1.5 centimeters to 4 centimeters dilated. That was at about, I want to say 11 a.m. I was 4 centimeters dilated. Checked me again around like 2:30. And I was 8 centimeters dilated. So at that point, you know, they realized, okay, this is about to happen. So they decided to finally move me to a room. And I can't say they really decided. Honestly, my husband had to go out there and start cursing people out for them to get me a room because I was still in triage and I was not about to deliver this baby in a small little triage room. First of all, I was supposed to go to a birthing center, but that didn't happen because the doctor said that my baby was unresponsive and I was bleeding, etc., etc. And since that was on my file, they would not let me go to the birthing center and deliver naturally. That sucked. That was the first blow to my chest, as well as them telling me they were gonna induce me. That was another blow. So, you know, the third blow would have been having to deliver the baby in triage. That would have really just set me over the top, and I probably would have been a raving lunatic in that hospital, okay? They ended up finding me a room after my husband pretty much threatened everyone's lives. They got me a room, I went in, and this is when everything gets a little blurry. So I remember saying, I want to get in the tub, I want to get in the tub, because that is what I was looking forward to at the birthing center. There was a big whirlpool tub in the birthing center. So what I ended up having was like a tub shower combo in this room, and my doula essentially had me in the tub of warm water, and then she was running the water down my back with the shower head as well. So she was like spraying me. She put a shower cap on my head, and then she was like spraying me down so that like it was kind of like a little bit of a relief. I finally decided to get out of the tub when I felt like I had to poop. Again, that might be really too much information, but if you haven't delivered yet, you'll probably want to know this. So you know that it's time to push when you feel like you're going to poop. And it's not like a regular poop. It's like you feel like you're going to poop with your whole soul, okay? And when that happens, that means the baby is there and it's time to go, okay? I was 9 centimeters at that point, and my cervix was sticking out a little. If I would have pushed him out with my cervix sticking out, I would have really injured myself and possibly hurt him a little bit too. So what happened is they made me stay. I had to like get on these little wedges that my doula had, and she like repositioned my body, and I guess my cervix moved to the right place so that I could push. Doctor comes in, like I said, she wasn't ready. She thought it was gonna take me hours and hours and hours. She came, she had, oh, and by that point my sister had come in. She came in when I was in the, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like I kind of like went to labor land and I really don't remember. It was like an out of body experience. So my sister came in, I think after I got out the tub, but before I started pushing. So she came there, and she was actually telling me that the doctor was like, had her coffee in her hand, like chilling, just strolling in all slow, and it was like, oh my God, like there's the baby, it's time to go. So she's like throwing on her stuff really quickly, throwing down the coffee, like it was too much. So anyway, she ended up checking me again, and it was time to go. They were finally telling me that I could push. But they made me go on my back. I wanted to push in a squatting position because gravity really helps, but because of the cervix and because of what I didn't know was happening, they made me go on my back. After I got off my side, laying down on my side with those little things propped up under me, then they made me get on my back, and they were like, okay, you can finally push. So I went to push, and the first time I didn't know what I was doing, and I like said, "Rah!" and like screamed it all out instead of actually pushing it. And then they were like, no, my doula was like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. So I got my doula holding one leg, my husband holding the other leg, my sister with a camera, and I'm like, wait, what? Why can't I do that? So then I went to push again, and my doctor's like, don't push. And I was like, what do you mean don't push? Now mind you, I've been having to push all this time and trying to hold it in, and so now you finally allow me to push, and then you tell me to stop. It's like, no, I cannot stop. This is happening. Yeah, tell him, baby. What is it? You sad? Are you knew you were about to enter the world? Okay. Hold please. She's telling me to stop pushing, and I'm trying my hardest, but it's actually really difficult not to push. So I stopped pushing, and at that point I'm losing like my breath and my oxygen, and they came over and they gave me some oxygen, and then next thing I know, they say, okay, you can push again. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe it was my oxygen. So I start pushing, and then the baby comes out and I don't hear anything. And my doula is like, wait for the cry. He needs to cry. We really need to hear him cry. And I'm like, okay, all right, we'll wait for the cry. And so then finally I hear the cry, and they put him on me for like 5 seconds, and then they take him away. And then I'm like, wait, I thought we're supposed to do skin to skin. So it turns out that his cord was actually wrapped around his neck, and that is why they told me to stop pushing. There was also a moment in my labor where they said that the baby's heart rate was dropping. So my doula actually came over and she gave me some honey sticks that we had in our bag, and she was like, eat this and it will bring your baby's heart rate right back up. And she was like, if you don't do that, they're going to make you do a C-section. And I had already pushed and labored and did all of that. We were right at the end. So I was like, oh, no. So I took those honey sticks as fast as I could. And yeah, then we had all the drama with the pushing, and so I finally pushed him out, and my husband said he was absolutely blue, completely blue when he came out. And even I have some pictures where you can still see some of him being blue. But, you know, I just feel really blessed that he made it. And throughout all of the drama that they tried to, you know, just put on me throughout that labor and delivery process, I still got the labor and the delivery that I wanted, which was all natural. And I got him here without any interventions, and he made it with his cord wrapped around his neck. So honestly, I really feel really blessed that, you know, that he's here, because you hear stories about that, and it doesn't always turn out that way. And to be honest, that was one of my biggest fears with having a baby, is I was afraid that he would come out with his cord wrapped around his neck and be stillborn. That was one of my biggest fears. And when they told me that afterwards, I really just said a major prayer, just saying thank you to God for not having that happen. We did not have his name picked out before he was born. So we had two names, and we said we would decide once he was born, and we chose his name, Lennox Saint. My husband let me pick out the name. He was like, you did a lot of work, so you can pick the name you want. So we went with Lennox because I loved Lennox. I just love that name. We actually went back and forth trying to decide, but yeah, he ended up giving me the honor. So I picked his first name and he picked his middle name. So Lennox Saint is his name, and he was born at 4:25 p.m. He was 6 pounds and 4 ounces, and he was 20 inches long. As soon as he was born, he was like, ping, eyes open, looking at everybody, holding his head up, like as soon as he was born. It's funny because everybody that came to visit me was like, oh my gosh, you don't look like you just had a baby, you look like you feel great, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, it's because I did it natural. You know, I am a firm believer that that's why I felt really good afterwards. I didn't take anything so much as Tylenol the whole time. So like I said, that's my personal preference because I am afraid of drugs. However, you get your baby here, as long as you get your baby here safely, then I commend you. You know, like it's different strokes for different folks, but for me, I'm terrified of needles and I'm terrified of drugs. So I already knew that I really didn't have any other choice in the situation. It's really been a while since I've even put makeup on my face. I gotta say the 4th trimester was interesting. I can do videos about being a new mom and things like that if you guys are interested, or you know, whatever my essentials were for each trimester, or what's best for a newborn baby, must-haves and things like that, if that's what you guys want to see. Obviously, I'm sure you can tell that I have definitely put on some weight. I gained about 15 pounds during my pregnancy, mostly in my face, my arms, and my thighs. I got stretch marks on my inner thighs and on my side, but no stretch marks on my belly. So it's really weird. You know, at this point, I'm like, I grew a whole human. I don't care if I have stretch marks. You better be glad that that's all I got. You better be glad that I'm not like walking around screaming and hollering about how I am woman, hear me roar, okay? Like, I'm not doing that. So let me live with my stretch marks, okay? Yeah, so we got him here safely. It was great. My husband, like, I can just tell he just really looks at me differently now, and I really feel the same way about him. Like, you love your spouse, you know, but you love them so much differently after you see them become a mother or a father. It's like, it's insane. And I love this kid so much. Like, I literally just want to squeeze him and fuse his body into mine. Like, if I could do that, that would be amazing. I am breastfeeding, so if you guys want, you know, videos on that, anything like that, anything pregnancy, baby, mommy, new parent related, period, I'm happy to oblige, because there was a lot of stuff that I was not told while I was pregnant and even after having the baby that I had no idea I would be faced with in becoming a new parent. It's funny because for labor and delivery, like the things that did not go my way, I'll just kind of mention those. The first was, of course, I didn't make it into the birthing center, which I wanted, but I still got my natural childbirth, so look at God. Secondly is they tried to induce me, but they couldn't because I prayed about it and I went into labor on my own the same day, hours later. Look at God. Oh, I also had a really tough time breastfeeding. That'll have to be a separate video, but it was not easy. There were days of tears. There were days of, can I really do this? There was days of, why is everybody else able to and I can't? What's wrong with me? Is there something wrong? You know, whatever. But all in all, I got the labor and the delivery that I wanted, and my son is here. I couldn't be happier. I love this kid. I just wanted to tell you guys what I went through with my labor and delivery. If you have had children or if you're pregnant, let me know what your thoughts are, how your labor went, or what you think you want for yours. I will leave links to all of the things that helped me with my labor, like the birthing ball and the books that I was reading and things like that. I'll leave all that in the information bar, and I think that's pretty much going to be it for this video. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you. Bye.